We are ready to start. So it is 2 p.m. ET, 11 a.m. No, ET, and then 11 a.m. PT, or wherever you are in the world. Welcome to our webinar. My name is Tanya, and I am the Customer Success Manager here at Clockwork. You may have seen me on camera. We met in person, or we met online, or we may have interacted over the emails over the past few months. Today's webinar is a little bit different from what we used to do. And I'm joined by Jessica, our product manager. Jessica, hello.
Hi, Tanya.
What is your role at Clockwork exactly? What do you do?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I'm an associate product manager here at Clockwork. My background is in product and data analytics. I've worked in the tech startup space for the last 5 years, and I'm currently pursuing my MBA with a focus in data analytics. And I'm currently applying everything that I'm learning to making Clockwork a great product.
That's awesome. We're really lucky to have you as part of our product team. And just briefly want to explain to you what we're going to go over today as part of our webinar. Basically, the checklist you see on the slide, we're going to go over what drives Clockwork's product, what feature updates we are pushing out, and what also drives feature updates and releases. What is the process for making updates to the product itself? I believe you might want to know some insights about that. Where do ideas come from? Our famous ideas portal, but beyond that, how our features and updates are communicated to you as our users. The recent examples of what we recently pushed out into the product, as well as something that's coming up. And we're going to cover some of the upcoming updates that just came out or coming up very, very soon. So the first thing that we're going to cover is what really drives product changes. And before Jessica officially starts, I would like to say thank you for everybody who's submitting their feedback or their requests to the ideas portal, as well as sometimes during the meetings when we meet and sit down with each other, you express something to us and immediately something pops into my mind, or somebody else, some other representatives of Clockwork that you meet, we put it down into our notes section, and rest assured, we transfer this data over to the product team like Jessica, or other members of the product team, and they basically gather this feedback. And based on that, they start building new features, improving the features that already been released, and anything like that. But beyond myself, also support hears you out. Whatever you write, we take every single word that you give us into a consideration. So once again, thank you guys so much for being here, and thank you so much for submitting this feedback, because ultimately that's the baseline for us to improve Clockwork as much as we can. And Jessica, right now, she can speak more about what else our ideas and features are based out of.
Yeah. So yeah, overall, our updates come from user ideas, like you mentioned, the competitive landscape and our belief system. So at Clockwork Recruiting, we believe in the 8 stages of search, and they're what help guide our product. So for those of you who do not know, the 8 stages of search was created by our CEO, Christian. And part of that is that firms can drive their work through 2 KPIs, days of placement and placement rate. So we're providing something unique for retained executive search that focuses on these KPIs, right? So we're not an ATS. We're a process and client management tool that focuses on retained executive search professionals. So everything we do, we tailor for executive search. And after the call, hopefully Tanya can provide you more insight into information regarding the 8 stages of search for those that would like to hear more. Let's go over like our feedback loop. So as Tanya mentioned, like our user feedback loop does come from support and customer success, and those 2 teams are amazing. And we also really heavily rely on the ideas portal. So everyone in the organization is aware of the ideas that are posted in our ideas portal. We try to respond as soon as we can, but we sometimes aren't able to do that. However, rest assured, as Tanya mentioned, that we are very aware of the feedback that we get through users through different avenues in our platform. The third thing that really drives our product changes is wanting to improve the user experience. So we want to make an experience that we will have on the application seamless and cohesive.
That's great. And speaking about user feedback, by the way, or just your questions, there is a Q&A section in Zoom. So feel free to drop in your questions right there during the sessions, and we're just going to do our best to reply back to you by the end of it. Meanwhile, what we're going to talk about next is why we make updates to the product.
Right. So, I did skip a slide. So, I spoke about like our intuitive design, right? So we're really focusing on creating a more intuitive design. And by that, we kind of mean the reducing of clicks. So we really want to create a product that is intuitive and you know how to use it as soon as you see it. And whatever we create, you can easily apply into your workflow. So, for example, recently we got a lot of feedback to like reducing clicks and the person panel, as you can see, our cool little image, that we reduced a lot of the saving aspect of that. By saving, I mean like those save buttons, and made it easier for users to just like update things like their candidate status directly on the panel. We're also really focusing on repurposing cards in different parts of the platform. So different users in your firms use the application differently. So some people live in the same part of the application, but they use it completely differently. Your finance team might be looking at your projects table differently than someone that's actually an associate that's working on a project. So we're allowing for updates to the same card in different places, which is really helpful. And we'll go over that a little later. And when we go through like admin and internal, there's a couple cards that do just that. And we also really want to make sure that we keep up with the latest UI UX paradigms.
Thank you, Jessica. That was and the graphic looks very cool, by the way. But the other part that we actually wanted to mention is, if we go to the next slide, what goes into making updates to the product? What's our process? What does it start? What does it end? What's the middle of it?
Right. So we focus on problems, solution solving. So and also design thinking and the agile process. So when we begin with a problem, right, you can kind of see it through this graph, and it's like this really big problem. And then we think of solutions through divergent thinking and then convergent thinking, and follow up with like a lot of users testing. And after user testing, there are decisions that are made that lead us to keep continuously iterating until we make a final decision. So for example, for Clockwork, the big problem is how to making sure that like your placements are being displayed in Clockwork, right? How do we make sure that that makes it easier for you? So there's like some smaller solutions like making workflows or doing small improvements that we kind of iterate through our story writing. And then we do a lot of user testing to make sure that we do a lot of that. So as for Agile, that's like an iterative approach to software development, where instead of doing like a really, really big launch, we do smaller works and in like consumable increments. As you all probably have noticed recently, there's been a lot of smaller changes in Clockwork. Where have you gotten those little pop-ups inside of Clockwork that tells you like what's new? So I can get into a little more about like what I meant by user testing. So we do this testing in different stages of our product cycle. So some of you on the call might actually have been involved in these user testings, and they kind of range from just research, just like us getting to know what your day-to-day looks like, to actually us like demonstrating our prototypes to gain feedback and in like our user experience and usability testing. We also do a lot of in-app, we have in-app surveys and like our yearly feedback and research calls and like the high fidelity mockups, and we also do betas. So basically what I'm trying to say is that before we think about anything and before we implement anything, we really ask a lot of different users their experience and their feelings about the new updates that we're doing. And when we do decide to release them, we kind of make sure that like we go through that process of like making sure that we try to go through these like iterations. So we make sure that we release them as cohesively as we can.
Right. Thank you for this. And we do usually do the releases roughly every week. So you might notice some slight small changes inside of the product. And speaking about slight, small, or even big changes inside of the product, maybe you have noticed that we've been doing some in-app alerts. So basically like the one that you see on the screenshot, but just beyond that, you may have seen these little windows pop up in front of you and saying, hey, that's what's new. We just added that. Feel free to close them because there's always an X, but I would suggest going through them because there's something we constantly improve. And that's why we're doing it. So you can stay aware about the recent changes inside of the product, as well as communication about the next webinar, like you already received for this one. But it's beyond that. What else do you have to add, Jessica, about that?
Right. So it really like our communication. So currently, to go a little back on that, we're currently focusing on solving like a lot of the feedback that we've gotten from users on the platform, where we're doing smaller iterations. So you'll probably keep continuing to see these like in-app pop-ups. And when we would decide to release them is really based on our product focus at the time and our roadmap. So how we communicate on these releases really depend on how big and how much of an impact our effort really is. So we really support these releases through articles in our knowledge base and in-app pop-ups, as you mentioned. And like whatever we don't, whenever you see something, you're like, oh, wait, I could really use more of that. Definitely ask your account manager for these trainings. Yeah.
Yeah, that's usually when we have a recurring call with you, or just a call. Let's say you just scheduled that because you need some support. We usually are also communicating some of the updates with you if they're live. So that's what we try to do now, especially this year. Now we're going to go over a little bit about what are the recent examples of our newest releases inside of Clockwork that you may and may not have seen. But first one is an internal view.
Right. So we've recently done kind of this overall update to the internal view. Hopefully you've all have seen this. The way we've kind of gone, I can go overall what we've changed, but the old view kind of had, we changed a lot of like the outreach, the documents card, the improved user experiences to make it more intuitive. So for those of you who did not or do not remember anymore what the internal view looked like, you kind of had this like view that was a little bit outdated and it wasn't as cohesive as we would have liked it to be. And now I'm going to show you what it now looks like. So this is our current internal view. So now we have this kind of documents card, this outreach, where you can kind of decide where you want to see your overall outreach from your project and your users, and also like your recent project activities. So this allows you to filter by what's it's relevant to, who's doing this, a date range. And it also kind of lets you go in here to see who performed it. So for example, this is a QA environment. So please excuse my messy data. This is not real. So for example, like I did this change, right? So let's say, for example, this call note, I can make any notes here relating to that. And I can just make sure that like everything is kept track in here. So why is it better? So it kind of allows for a more seamless experience and a more intuitive design compared to like our old view. It also allows you to really make like quick notes or assign tasks to the person that potentially performed something by clicking on the name and opening the panel. So if you know, for example, instead of if you had another Jessica that made a call for a note and you want to make sure that like they followed up on that, that really like allows that to do that. And it also allowing you to utilize this outreach card. You can visualize your user's project activity summary and allow you to quickly see how much activity and effort your team has made on the project. So that's I really like this improvement to make it a bit more cohesive to what we had before. So
that's
yeah. So,
and then there's another one. There's another
yes.
one, which is Jessica's currently showing, which is the admin view.
Right. So kind of to go back on what we did for our admin view. So the old admin view looks like this. Well, looked like this. And what we did now is that we added more, apologies. My cursor. Let me hold on for a second.
Totally happens to me sometimes too.
Yeah. All right, let me reshare. Apologies for everyone that is watching. Thank you for your patience. So yeah, our project view. It looked a little outdated, and we've made some really cool changes to it now, where you can see, what is going on? Okay, let me go this way. Right. Okay. So this I'll go over the actual changes that have happened. So we went and added notes to the top section. So we overall kind of, as you can see clearly, did the UX UI and moved our notes and tags to the top. So for example, if your tags are up here, you can always add a tag. We got a lot of feedback that that the tags were a little hidden, and it also allows you to control your tags now, since you're unable to add them there. All your notes are at the top now. They work the same way as any other as notes in other sections. And we also added more cards. So as I mentioned when we first started, that a couple of these cards are in other views in the project. So for example, like your contract term card is in like the contract tab. So you're able to view these. So you're able to make any changes here. They're going to reflect throughout. So you don't have to worry about any edits that you make not reflecting in other parts of where that same card is. It's going to reflect a card across all parts of the application that have the card. One of my favorites, though, is the project status in Gong report. So when you close a project, it allows you to have a control of a Gong report. So let me quickly kind of show you what that looks like. So for example, I'm going to go and close this project with a placement. So the timer kind of goes down, and it allows me to make any edits to any of these fields, but it also allows me to control when I want to send it. So I can either wait for the timer to go, I can send it now, or I can cancel and pause it so that when I can send it as soon as I'm ready. Once I'm actually ready and I've sent it, it'll display here who sent it. So you actually know where and who sent it. This is really useful for allowing you to have control of when you kind of want this Gong report to be sent out. Another really great thing that we have is the project views and visibility settings and the candidate data visibility settings. This was not something that you could do before. That's really great because that allows you to have all of your visibility settings for your candidates and your projects in one location. So you don't have to worry about anything else being in, going into, like, for example, your dashboard and turning on that visibility there. You can just turn it on here. And any changes that you make here, for example, you turn off your dashboard and you go into your dashboard view, you can actually turn it back on there as well. So all these toggles are connected, and it allows you to kind of have that kind of control. And it allows you to have a more cohesive experience where you make these changes in one location and it streamlines this process for you. So these are just a couple of new changes that we made. Also, we did add like a do not contact that you can cascade to a person or a company, which is, I think, pretty cool. And that kind of allows you to have a more admin, if that makes sense. So it allows you to kind of have like your admin view in a more cohesive place where you can actually really control it. Yeah.
And another cool and small, tiny, but very significant change that we've implemented, which is the data and time globalization inside of Clockwork too, because we are aware that some of the teams may be distributed throughout the world. Some of them may be located in different parts. So we made sure it is suited for you. So we changed that. And I believe, but Jessica, correct me if I'm wrong, it depends on your browser settings.
Yes, that's correct. So yeah, so for example, like inside of Clockwork, we have an international team. So I'm in the US, I'm in the Pacific time. So I'll see it in month, day, year. But we have someone else on the product team that they're in the UK. So they're seeing it in their time, their date and their time. So day, month, year, which is really cool because it allows everyone to be on the same page as to when an event happened, and it allows for like the localized viewing and like globalization throughout the application, and it like respects those time components. And then,
yeah,
go for it.
There's other small changes that we made, or some small changes or big changes are coming soon as well.
Right. So date and time are now out, but we do also have candidate ratings that are coming out, and our new project table. So because you all joined today, you're going to be able to really see, you're going to be able to actually see what that looks like. So to go a little back on like what the date and time component looks like, this is what I'm referring to. So I would see it this way, but the same event happening in the UK would look like this. This goes forever, like throughout the globe. I'm just using the UK as an example. However, let's go into candidate ratings. So candidate ratings, we really believe, again, in the 8 stages of search. So there is a actual reason why we are doing this candidate ratings improvement. So this was actually a feedback that we got back, where we are able to add weighted capabilities. For example, this is in the positions tab for those of you that do not know. And you're able to kind of adjust the weight of this. For example, if I added, if this was instead of 5%, maybe it was like super important, it was 50% of that weight. Or I have some other like research criteria from other different parts of the project. I'm able to copy them over. So for example, these that I just added on here. So you're able to adjust the weight or delete them. And you're able to really just do that in a way that makes it easier, so you don't really have to double the amount of work that you do for your research criteria. So what does this actually look like when implemented? So let me quickly go through this. So this is really helpful, specifically if you're going through your candidates, right? So let's say we're doing this person. So what you're able to do is go through here and go, oh, okay, this person's great here. This person really sucks in this person's great here. And then it allows you to actually put like comments on like why. So not very, that's great. It really allows you to have this kind of like control over what rating you do. And it tells you who did the rating and when. So it's really great to have like this research criteria, and it'll like really reflect on how this looks like there. Yeah, your clients will also be able to view this. So can quickly go into like view as a client. And your clients can go and look at all your ratings here. So the person that I did was probably down there. So let's say, for example, we're going in here and you can see like this is what your client sees. So what the comments and stuff, again, sorry, this is a QA data. So all of this is just QA for us. So it's not real. I would hope the searches aren't conducted with this way. And this really allows you to kind of like view this rating in a way that your clients can see, and they can view like, okay, why they did it, why this person got a score. Also, what's coming up is projects table. So you're all really used to this kind of projects view, where you see your projects this way. However, we're doing this really cool process where you can actually view them as in a table. So your project title, and you're able to control which columns are there. And it allows you more visual control of like, what are all your projects on. It'll work the same way. You can filter it. And you can also do this really cool thing that a lot of users have asked us for, is the ability to clone a project. So you're able to clone a project to include the candidates, job description, project strategy. So it really does allow you to do a lot of the things that that we've gotten asked for in regards to like being able to copy a project. There's also candidate metrics that are going to come out soon. Those aren't out yet, but yeah, that's just a little sneak peek of what has been going on.
Thank you for showing that to us. There's one more last thing that, before we wrap up, one more last thing that we would like to show you, which is the projects table.
Oh, yeah, I already went over that part.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, that was good. I guess we are almost done. We just want to leave a little bit of room for your questions and us to answer your questions. And we have something that's already hanging around in QA. I'm just going to read it out loud. And the question is, will I still be able to see the old project view if I want to?
The old project view, you're able to control the view of it. So for example, let me quickly go back. So if you are comfortable with the way it currently looks, so this is the way it currently looks now. If I remove it this way, yes, the old project view is going to look the same. This is only if you want to do it, and it's going to save your settings.
Right. So you're going to be able to just switch in between the two with a click of one button, which is going to be right there on the left-hand side. And another question I have about candidate rating, and this person is asking, can I rate candidates anywhere in the app?
Yeah, you can. So for example, well, not everywhere, but it allows you to do, I'm in status report, but for example, let's say this person this is a panel, this is the candidate panel, right? I'm able to go in here and see this view. So I'm able to like edit this if I need to and make a comment on this as well. So yeah, there's different locations where you can go in and make these changes, like, well, these ratings. So it's not just
Cool.
in the status report view.
Yeah, okay, cool. There is one more question in regards to the Gong report. Why did we make changes to the Gong report?
Right. So we made changes to the component. So by component, I mean like we made changes to the product status card. So we didn't make changes to the report itself. The report is going to be like it'll send out. So we made these changes to try to make it easier for the user to control, right? So if you want to make any changes in regards to like salary or where your candidate, what like any descriptions or any like place from, it allows you to really have this control. So it allows you to have like a time instead of our system automatically sending it when you place it. It gives you the ability to send it when it benefits like you.
Cool. And I think we have a little bit more time for one more question. And that's about the release dates. Specifically, this person is asking, why are there no set release dates?
Right. So as I mentioned, we go through like this agile process where we release in small increments, and right now we try to release on Tuesdays if we have to, but it really depends on like what we feel like needs to be released, and that really goes back to our product roadmap. So we try to do set releases, but as we go through this agile process where we try to make changes as much as we can, that's why we really can't say this is going to go at this date. We're making improvements continuously, and all of these improvements again really go back to a lot of the feedback that we've gotten from users. So I just really want our users to know that, like, you know, we're listening, we're hearing what you're doing, and we're really trying to make the application as great as we can for your workflow.
Right. And to piggyback off of that, I want to say that I've been personally asked this question by some of the users a few times. But what usually happens is that while we're working on the feature that's about to be released, we really want to make sure it's the quality work that's being released to everybody. So what we do is that typically we develop this on the back end, then we put it into another environment and just test it out ourselves. And then after it passes a certain amount of tests, we release it. What if it doesn't? Then we have to go back and repair it. So it's just like in a simple language explaining to you how this process works and why we can't really tell you the exact date. It's because what if it's not perfect? And we want to ideally want to release something out that's working. Basically, that's one of the most important parts for us. So that's simply put why we don't typically do the release dates for you guys. And another question, just quickly, I'm gonna answer that. Will you send the link for the ideas portal? I believe so. We can do that. You can also find it in the support. So if you go to support.clockworkrecruiting.com, you will be able to see the Ideals portal in one of the screens, usually you're just going to see a bunch of cards put together. They are divided by a topic, and one of them is going to say, share your ideas with us. And just in case if we don't share it inside of our email, this is where it is all the time, always. It never changes its locations, so it's there. Anyways, I think this is it for now. You guys, thank you so much for joining this webinar. We really appreciate your attention and your feedback and everything you give us. So this really energizes us and energizes us to work better, to make a better product for you. And the next webinar is, as always, going to be on the first Thursday of the month. It's going to be May 11th at the same time, same place in Zoom, right over here. The recording of the session is, of course, going to be sent over by email as always. Any questions that we didn't go through, we will get back to you as always over the email. And once again, I was joined by Jessica Burgos, who is our product manager here at Clockwork. Thank you so much for coming over, and I'm going to see you on the next webinar.
Great. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Bye-bye.